right, so Tom, you broke the story about the fighter in Arkansas that tested positive for HIV, but he still fought. Can you give us some background on that story and any additional information you may have found out?
The fighter applied for a license to fight in Florida in July. He tested positive. The promoter was notified. They tested the fighter a second time. He tested positive a second time. So they took him off the card. Then they got word that he was planning to fight in Arkansas. So the Association of Boxing Commissions and the Florida Commission notified the Arkansas State Athletic Commission that a fighter who had tested HIV positive was scheduled to fight, and Arkansas fumbled the ball. The commission says that they asked all of the fighters for blood tests, and then as of this week, the Arkansas Department of Health, which oversees the commission, said that the promoter submitted a phony blood test for the fighter in question. Now, it's unclear what the provenance of that phony blood test was. In other words, did the promoter make it up? Did the fighter make it up? Did somebody else make it up? We don't know, but a phony blood test was submitted. Should never have come to that. Meanwhile, you had an opponent who was fighting somebody who presumably is HIV positive and didn't know it. The referee didn't know it. Not a good situation.
Now, so has the opponent been notified that he was fighting someone that was HIV positive?
The opponent now knows that he fought someone who was HIV positive.
Okay.
He wasn't notified by the commission. The opponent found out through the media. But it's an ugly situation, should never have happened. The whole show was a travesty. You had a fighter on the show who was listed as Donald Caples, a 247-pound heavyweight. Now, last year, Donald Caples fought at 151 pounds. Either Donald Caples has a bad eating disorder, or there was identity fraud. You know, I mean, there were 4 fights on the card. One fight had a guy whose record was something in the neighborhood of 2-27 against the guy whose record was worse. And from what I understand, after the show, the fighters weren't paid. So the whole thing was a travesty.
So the fighters didn't get paid, there was identity fraud, and there was a fighter on the card.
It's quite possible there was identity fraud,
okay.
Or the fighter has it. And this fighter, by the way, Donald Caples, you can look him up on BoxRec, turned pro at 118 pounds. So unlikely he weighed in at 247. If he did, he didn't walk to the ring, he rolled to the ring.
Yeah, so he started his career at 118.
A fighter who was listed at BoxRec. No, the fighter listed on BoxRec started his career, first he's 50 years old. He started his career at 118. His last fight in 2016, he weighed 151. The Donald Caples listed on the fight card was listed as 247 pounds, and I might add that if you look at the Arkansas records, he didn't provide a federal ID.
How are fights or cards like this allowed to happen?
You'll have to ask the Arkansas Commission that. I called the Arkansas Commission, and you get a tape which says this is the Arkansas State Athletic Commission. Office hours are by appointment only. Leave a message and we'll call you back. I never got called back.
And what's going to happen about the fighter, or to the fighter that knowingly fought with HIV, presumably?
Well, the fighter, through his attorney, now says that nobody formally told him that he was HIV positive. And I'm concerned for the fighter. From what I know about him, He's not a bad guy. He's a young guy, not the most sophisticated person in the world, wanted to feed his kids. To me, the focus should be on the Arkansas Commission. The fighter is one person. With the commission, they're affecting fighter after fighter after fighter. What we really need and we won't get is a good federal commission.